Good morning.
How are we doing this week, Grace Kids?
So here we are, Mike and I, talking about friendship. It's the month of September, and so we're talking about friendship. And friendship is using your words and your actions to show others that you care. So, Mr. Mike, if we would have been down the hall actually together, we would do this thing this morning.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'd do this great game. It'd be so much fun. You guys would be like, yeah, it's awesome. But we're not.
So, our plan B is this. Here's what we've done. We have, so friendship, right? We're going to use our words today. And one of the things about friendship is encouraging one another. And so we are going to...
You did that very well, Ellie.
Thank you. Thank you. That was such an encouragement, Mr. Mike. Thank you. So what we're going to do is right here in this space, we're going to show you, since we can't actually have our small group leaders actually right here, we're going to show you pictures of them. And what we're going to do is we're going to do this little activity called encourage our small group leaders.
I like it. That's a great name, Ellie.
Okay, that's what we're going to call it. Okay, so we're going to show you how you can be an encouragement, and we're going to encourage our small group leaders. And again, since they can't actually be right here, they're going to be here on a screen. Okay.
Virtually be right here.
Right here on a screen. Okay, so first up we have, dun dun dun, Mr. Bruce and Miss Joe.
Hey!
Hello, Mr. Bruce and Miss Joe. Obviously they can't say hi to us because it's just
a picture.
Okay, so a couple things about Mr. Mr. Bruce and Miss Joe that we want to encourage them with is this, okay? Miss Joe is one of the best examples I have ever known of loving Jesus when things don't go the way you think they should go. Amazing.
And Bruce is such a servant, and he does such a great job making sure that Joe's being taken care of. And I love his stories.
Oh, he
tells
good
some of
stories.
the best stories.
Yeah, some of the best stories. Also, they're matching. Please notice they're matching. Okay, so next up, after Mr. Bruce and Miss Joe, we have Mr. Brent and Miss Cindy. Hello.
Hi.
They would say hi if they could talk. I mean, they can talk, they just can't talk right here. Okay, so moving on, and in friendship, we want to encourage each other. So we're going to encourage Mr. Brent and Miss Cindy with this. Mr. Brent, here's an encouragement for Mr. Brent. He knows the Bible and Bible verses amazingly well. He can quote verses, they just keep coming over and over and over again.
It's amazing. I wish
I know.
I had
Goals,
even just a small
goals,
portion
kids.
of that.
Let's learn verses like Mr. Brent. And Miss Cindy is so she is encouraging. We want to encourage her, but she is so encouraging. Her smile and how she is here and loves us so well. She is so encouraging herself. Also, notice they're matching too. We didn't even ask them to do that.
I see a trend.
It's trending. Okay. Next small group leader that we have, couple that we have are dun dun dun.
Ben and Kinsey.
Ben and Kinsey. Hello, Ben and Kinsey. Hello. That's not actually them, but okay. So, a couple things about Ben and Kinsey. Ben is always so quick to respond. Hey, we need something, like, hey, we need a picture of you. Miss Kelly has a picture of them to show us. And they're here, and they do small group leading so well. Kinsey is also really good at cutting hair, guys. Maybe you have like quarantine haircuts that you could find her.
She cuts Nathan's hair.
She does not cut my hair. Does she cut your hair?
I don't have enough hair for her to cut.
Okay, well, we can still encourage.
Absolutely.
Kinsey.
And they do a great job, as Ali said, with the small groups. I love watching those two work together. They just play off each other so well and work together.
True. All right, next up. Nate.
Hey, I know that guy.
So do I. I mean, not maybe as well as,
Well, I've known him a little longer.
Fair. Okay, Nate. Nate's fantastic. Nate, we want to encourage you to keep being fantastic. Nate loves kids so well. He is always quick to show up and be here and do whatever we ask him to do at Grace Kids. He is willing and available to do. It's fabulous, Nate. We're so grateful for you.
I think you're awesome, but you're my kid, so I'm a little biased.
Fair. He's not really matching with anybody
No.
because he's
But hey, his hair looks good. Thanks, Kinsey.
true. Okay, next small group leader that we have is Roman and Chelsea. Hello,
Hola.
Roman and Chelsea. Roman and Chelsea are great small group leaders. Did you know that Miss Chelsea does more work around the church actually for Grace Kids than I even know? Like, it's all the printing and all the work with the computers and everything. Miss Chelsea is doing all of that for us.
And if there's a wall that has fresh paint on it, she
Oh,
probably
yeah.
did that too.
That's true. I know that you guys actually haven't been in the building in a long time, but there's been a lot of painting that's gone on around here, and Chelsea paints and does that well.
And Roman, even before he was a deacon, always helping out around the church, always willing to jump in and do whatever's needed to fix whatever's broken or just help out where he can. It's awesome. You guys are great.
Next.
Dan and Susan Batty.
Hello, Dan and Susan Batty. Okay, Dan and Susan. We want to encourage Dan and Susan. Did you know that Miss Susan is one of the best craft people ever? Have you ever been in her class and done crafts with her at Christmas time or whenever she's doing crafts? It's so fabulous. She's so creative.
She has a whole room at home
Oh, I
dedicated to
know.
crafts. It's awesome.
Do you have a room at home dedicated to crafts?
No, I don't.
Me neither.
Maybe that's why I'm not really good at crafts.
Possibly.
It could be.
I don't think so.
Probably
I don't
not.
think if Mr. Mike had a whole room dedicated to crafts, but we're encouraging Dan and Susan.
Yes, we are.
Okay, and so Dan shows up and is so helpful to Miss Susan and is willing and available to serve. You know what Dan is also really good at, guys? Locks. If you are stuck and need something unlocked, did you know that Mr. Dan is actually a professional at unlocking things?
It would have been really nice if we'd have known Dan when Nathan was like 5 when he got himself stuck in handcuffs.
Oh, that would have been helpful.
Yes.
Okay. So we want to encourage Dan and Susan. We're really glad that they are a part of Grace Kids. All right. And then we have,
Last but not least.
I didn't think that was last but not least.
Okay.
Okay.
But it is.
Last but not least, the one and only
Jordan Boone.
Miss Jordan Boone. Hello, Jordan. She's glowing. Notice in this picture here, she's just practically glowing. So we love Jordan. You know, one of the things we love about Jordan is she will eat any gross food that we have put in front of her at Grace Kids.
Yes.
Nate will too, and actually Mr. Brent has been willing to eat for us, and
our small group leaders are pretty much willing to do the crazy things we ask them to.
they're fantastic.
Pretty much any time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
And
actually.
Jordan loves eating horrible food if it's for the kids.
Yes. I don't think that she eats horrible food regularly.
No.
No, not regularly. But for us, she will.
Absolutely.
So, these are our small group leaders, and we wanted to encourage them. We haven't seen them actually been together in a really long time, and we want to encourage them because they're valuable and important, and we're grateful for them and their friendship, and that is a way that we can show our friendship is by encouraging them. So,
And if you see them next week, if you happen to be on the back lawn for church, let them know that you saw this video and that it encouraged you, hopefully, but encourage them by saying hello and thank you for sharing the video.
absolutely. Okay, we're going to move on to our story next with talking about friendship.
All right.
Okay. Hey, welcome back, Grace Kids. It's pretty sunny here in the garage today, but you know how cool it is to see clouds and blue sky? Like, I'm looking outside right now. It's so bright and beautiful and clear. We are talking about friendship again this month, the month of September. And so we have another story from the Old Testament, a friendship story from the Old Testament. Last week, remember Mr. Mike talked about David and Goliath No. David and Goliath were not friends, but David and Jonathan were friends. So Mr. Mike told us about David and Jonathan and their friendship and how they loved one another and how they showed it. Remember, what's the definition of friendship? It is using our words and actions to show others that you care. So if I'm going to be a good friend, I'm going to use my words and my actions, what I do to show others that I care. So our story today, and I have a few things right here in front of me that we're going to use today. I'm actually going to draw you a picture, okay? I got my marker. Can you see? Oh, so blurry. You see that? There you go. Oh, that's better. Okay. So I've got colored pencils, and here's my, well, it's just a piece of paper. Okay. Actually, I just noticed there's something on the back of it already, but we're going to just use the blank side. Okay. So our story today, true story from the Bible, comes from the book of, or from the Old Testament. And just as kind of some background before we get into the story, we're going to find out about two friends from the Old Testament. And here's kind of the time period that they lived in. The first man was a man named Elijah. And I'm going to draw you a picture of him so you know what he looks like. I mean, not actually, but so I've got my markers, or not my markers, but my pencils here. So Elijah was a real person. He lived during the Old Testament times, and his occupation was a prophet. And remember that prophets, they spoke for God. So whatever God said, he used the prophets kind of as his mouthpiece. I'm trying to talk and draw at the same time. So here is Elijah. I'm going to use red. And so here's his name. Let's see. I'm going to actually before I show you him, I'm going to give him a robe. Oh, it's a purple robe. I thought this was blue. Okay, I'm going to color it in. What else? Remember how Israel, they wanted a king, and that didn't work out so well for them. A lot of the kings that Israel had after King David did not follow God. They did not obey his commandments. They didn't do what God told him to do. They didn't worship God only. And so they ran into a lot of problems because of their disobedience. And God would send prophets to say, here's actually the right way to go. Here's the laws. Here's the rules. Here's the commandments that you should be following. And that was Elijah's job. I'm also going to give him I feel like he needs some sort of hat. They didn't, yeah. So they didn't listen to God very well at all. And so God sent these prophets. Okay. Here we go. Almost ready. Yeah, God cared about, so God cared about Israel so much that he sent prophets to tell them what to do. And Elijah was a prophet. I'm trying to make his name a little bigger so you can see it on the screen. I'm coloring it in right now. So here is, let's see. Do you see him? I gotta hold it back. Okay, here's Elijah. Hopefully that is, those words aren't backwards for you on the screen. I'm just realizing that. Maybe they are. But here is Elijah, okay? He was a what? A prophet who spoke for God during a time when Israel was kind of not following God very well. Elijah did some really amazing things. Did you know that one time he prayed to God and said, God, would you not let it rain? Would you please not let it rain? And it didn't rain for 3 whole years. And then he prayed again to God and he said, would you cause it to rain? And God listened, and then it began to rain again. Such cool stories. So in the time that Elijah lived, like I said, it wasn't people didn't follow God very well. They didn't listen to God. They didn't care about what God told them to do. And so while we hear stories of Elijah and how he prayed and it didn't rain, another story, he was friends with a lady and her son died, and God actually used Elijah and the son came back to life. It was another major miracle in the Old Testament, true story, that Elijah was able to be a part of. And so while he had some really neat and incredible and miraculous things happen to him and God used him to do these things, he was fairly lonely because nobody listened to God. Nobody cared or did what God asked them to do. And so in the book of 2 Kings, where a lot of his story takes place, in 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 2, it says this. Or I'm sorry, not 2 Kings yet, at the end of 1 Kings. 1 Kings 19. He's kind of lonely. He's by himself. And here's what he prays to God. He says this: Lord God, who rules over all, I've been very committed to you. The Israelites have turned their back on your covenant. They've torn down your altars. They've put your prophets to death with their swords. And Elijah goes, I'm the only one left. I'm the only one left. And so God knew at this time in Elijah's life that he needed some encouragement. He needed help and he needed encouragement. And so God was going to send help and encouragement through a friend. Our bottom line this week, we're talking about how friends encourage each other. And so God was going to send a friend and a companion to Elijah to help encourage him. So here's where the story, this is why I'm drawing pictures. So we have Elijah, who's God's prophet, and he's kind of fairly discouraged. And so next, I got to switch it over because I don't want to use this side. Okay, so the friend, got a fly going on here. The friend that God sends, his name, maybe you've heard of him before, his name is Elisha. Elisha, which is similar, but not the same, okay? So I'm going to draw Elisha for you, and then as I'm talking, you will know the difference. So you're not confused by their names. So again, Elijah right here, Elijah is really discouraged. He's like, I'm the only one left. This is hard. It's not easy speaking your words when nobody cares and nobody listens. And so God is going to send, he needs a robe. Hold on. I'm going to give him a green robe. It's coming. Hold on. Interesting fact about Elisha was he was bald. So he doesn't have any hair on his head. So I'm going to, speaking of hairs, mine's kind of in the way. Okay. Almost got his robe done, and we're gonna leave him bald. So God sends Elijah to find. So God sends. Here's Elijah. God sends Elijah to find Elisha. Okay, you kind of tell the difference. Like their names start the same. Here, you can see both of them. So you've got Elijah and Elisha, and they're going to be friends, and God's going to use Elisha to encourage Elijah. Okay, so Elijah comes to see Elisha, and here's what Elisha is doing. He is, gotta see. We are not complaining about the sunny weather because it's so beautiful outside. So Elisha, here's what Elisha's doing. He's actually out in the fields working, and he's plowing the fields. And I think we understand what plowing the field is, right? He's out plowing the fields, and he comes, and Elijah saw Elisha, and he comes and he puts his coat, which I guess we should have done it in purple, huh? Around his shoulders. And that was a sign that God had chosen Elisha to be Elijah's helper. Okay? So he puts his coat over his shoulders, and that was a sign that God had chosen him. And so Elisha says, hey, hold on, I need to actually go say goodbye to my mom and dad. And he does that. He goes and says goodbye. And then Elisha comes back, and he actually, the Bible tells us that he takes the plow that he was using to plow his field, and he takes the wood from that plow and he makes an altar, and then the oxen that he was using to plow, he actually butchers those and offers them as an offering to God, as just a symbol and a sign, just like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to follow. Here's Elisha. I'm going to now, upside down. I'm going to now follow and be a helper and a friend and an encouragement to Elijah. And so that's what they do. And so they spend a lot of time together. They enjoy each other. They get to know each other. They're friends. They can encourage each other. And as they travel along, and God is still speaking through the prophet Elijah, he's still speaking through him. And they realize that their friendship is not going to last forever. God is eventually going to be calling Elijah back to heaven. And so they want to encourage each other, and they know that they're not always going to be together on earth. And so here's what happens is Elijah hears from God that he's supposed to go to, he's going to go, they're going to travel, and they left the town of Gilgal, and they're going to travel to a town called Bethel, different places and towns in Israel. And so Elijah, there he is, tells Elisha, hey, you can stay. You don't have to come with me. And so here's 2 Kings. I was a little ahead of myself. So we've moved on into 2 Kings. And here's what Elisha, probably will see him, Elisha says to Elijah. 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 2 says, first, I was ahead again. First, Elijah says to Elisha, hey, stay here. The Lord, he probably didn't say hey. I added that. Okay. Elijah says to Elisha, stay here. The Lord has sent me to Bethel. But Elisha says, I won't leave you. And that's just as sure as the Lord and you are alive. So they both went down to Bethel together. Okay. So I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to go with you. I'm not going to leave you. I'm coming to Bethel with you. And then when they get to Bethel, this whole thing happens again. Chapter 2 of 2 Kings, verse 4 this time, says this. Elijah said to him, stay here. So Elijah's talking. Elijah is talking to Elisha. And Elijah says, stay here, Elisha. The Lord has sent me to Jericho. And Elisha replied, so now Elisha's talking, I won't leave you, and that's just as sure as the Lord and you are alive. So they went to Jericho. So first they went to Bethel together, and then when they got to Bethel, God sent Elijah to Jericho, and Elisha says, nope, I'm coming with you. And so then they get to Jericho. Here's what happens next. God tells them to go to the river, and Elijah says, hey, what? You stay here. Elisha says, no, I'm going to go with you. So here's where the story gets really intense and miraculous, okay? So they get to the river, and you know what Elijah does? Well, yeah, he says, look, I'm coming with you. So, or Elisha says, I'm coming with you. And so Elijah gets to the river, and he took his coat, rolled it up, and then he hit the water. And as the coat struck the water, you know what happens? The water splits. And we know of rivers and water splitting in the Old Testament, don't we? Like when the Israelites left Egypt, the Red Sea parted. And when the Israelites first went into the Promised Land, the Jordan River parted. So here they are at another river, and Elijah takes his coat and rolls it up, hits the water, and the water splits apart. And so they walk across, both men, both friends, they walk across on dry ground. And then, while pretty much up until this part, especially in their story, Elisha has actually been doing a lot of the encouraging. He's saying, no, I'm gonna come with you. I follow God. I know you thought you were the only one left, but I follow God too. I listen. I want to hear. And so Elisha has been doing a lot of the encouragement to Elijah. And so they get across the river, and then Elijah is the one who actually turns to Elisha and says this, tell me, what can I do for you before I am taken away from you? So 2 Kings chapter 2 verse 9 says, tell me, what can I do for you before I am taken away from you? And Elisha replies, give me a double share of your spirit. Elisha says, God speaks to you, Elijah, I want double of what you have. I want, as long as God is speaking to you, and when you leave, I want to have double. I want to hear God. I want to speak for God. I want double of what you have. And so, here's what Elijah says to Elisha. That Elisha would receive what he asked for, and he'd know that he was going to receive it. Can you guys see him? He would know that he would receive what he asked for as long as he saw Elijah being taken away. What? Taken away? Such a cool story. Okay. Then something totally incredible happened. Okay. Something totally incredible happened. Okay. Elijah is actually taken away up into heaven. And you know how he's done that? Like, you know how this happens? A chariot and horses come, and Elijah gets in, and he's taken away up into heaven. He doesn't die. Isn't that incredible? He doesn't die. He's totally... I didn't draw horses and a chariot, but so Elijah says, look, Elisha, if you see that happening, if you see that miraculous thing happening, then you are going to get, trying to make you see, then you are going to get what you asked for. You're going to get that double portion and that double blessing. That's what's going to happen. And so suddenly, you know what happens? Chariots, horses. Oh, I forgot the fire part. How could I forget the fire part? Chariots, horses, fire. It all happens. The horses come down between the two men. So God sends the horses and the chariots between these two guys. Elijah is taken away up into heaven, and Elisha shouts out to Elijah as he's being taken away, and he says, "You're like a father to me." And he goes up to heaven. What? Such a cool story. So after that little incredible, miraculous horses, fire, chariot experience, Elisha notices that Elijah's coat is left on the ground. And he picks it up and he hurries back to the Jordan River, and he did exactly, he did exactly what Elijah had done. He hits the water and it parted, and he walked across on dry land, just like Elijah had done before him. And so there was actually a group of prophets that saw the amazing things that Elisha was able to do, and they saw that God's Spirit was now with Elisha, just as it had always been with Elijah, who went up to heaven on how? Horses, chariots, fire. Incredible. So when we look at the friendship between these two men, here's one thing that we see is they were there and they were encouraging to each other. They encouraged one another. They no matter what happened, no matter, hey, I've got to leave, I've got to go here, I feel like I'm all alone, they were there to encourage one another. And so again, our bottom line this week is friends encourage one another. That's what we can do to each other. We can encourage, just like we did at the beginning with our small group leaders. Hey, we want to be an encouragement. How can you be an encouragement to not like obviously your friends, and again, we're kind of in a funky time with school and things not being quite as maybe regularly they are or whatever, but we can still be an encouragement. We can be an encouragement to our family, to mom, to dad, to brothers, to sisters, to people we see in the stores or our neighbors, and especially our friends. We can encourage one another. We can use our words and our actions to show people that we care. We can be good friends. So just like Elijah and Elisha, feel free. Maybe I'll hold them like this, or we'll put a picture of them up at the end, and you can like copy those this week. If you want a visual to remind yourself of what it means to encourage each other, that would be great. Okay, let's pray, and we'll close out today. God, thank you for the story of these two men from the Old Testament. Thank you for their friendship and how Elisha came along at a time when Elijah needed encouragement, and he was used by you to encourage Elijah and their ministry and their work together for you. God, help us to encourage each other. Help us to use our words and our actions to show that we care, and to use those to show encouragement to each other. Thank you that you love us all the time. Thank you that you are the perfect friend. Thank you that you never leave us or forsake us. Thank you that you rescue and redeem us. You want a relationship with us. Thank you that we can talk about friendship this month. Give us ways, open our eyes, remind us of ways that we can be encouraging friends to each other this week. In Jesus' name, amen. We'll see you later, guys. Bye.
Hey Grace Kids! So this month our memory verse is Proverbs 17:17, and we're going to go over some hand motions for that. So it starts out with a friend, this is the sign language for friend, loves at all times, but a brother, you're going to make a left, love, a brother is born for adversity. Proverbs 17:17. All right, so I'm try that again. Ready? A friend loves at all times, but a brother is born for adversity. Proverbs 17:17. Bye, guys.